Hey, this last weekend, Labour weekend, took the excuse and the opportunity to head out of town. 4 days in the Garden City of Christchurch. What a fantastic time. What a great idea Labour weekend is. Certainly worth celebrating in itself. Joining me on the program is a fellow Labour Day celebrator, John Cowan. John, I'm not sure, I think I've just made up a word. Look at that, celebrate.
Celebrant? I don't know.
Well, I know you're a
I don't.
celebrant, but that's a different thing that you
Yeah,
do.
no, I just thought I'd slip in an ad there for my services, but there you go.
So how was your Labour weekend? Did you
I had a
celebrate it?
fantastic time. I was labouring around the Whakarewa Loop mountain biking
Oh,
on Labor
nice.
Day,
Yeah.
working far harder than I normally do. But when in actual fact Labor Day should be about rest, and I'm glad though that we have a holiday called Labor Day.
Yeah.
But just like Christmas and Easter and Waitangi Day, I think most people don't have any idea about its origins or real meanings. And I just want to say, neither do I. So I've made up some stuff.
Okay.
I mean, it would have been great preparation for talking to you to actually look up what it really does mean. But just like Christmas and Easter and Waitangi Day, I think I'll just make up stuff and stick it onto Labor
That
Day.
sounds like a good idea. I suspect it might have something to do with Michael Joseph Savage, but it's not. It's not like the Labour government made up a day that they named after themselves. That's not the link that we're looking for, is it?
Well, it could well do. I don't know. But my version of Labor Day is that it's a great reminder that we're human
Okay.
and that it's okay to say no to work. And it's okay for other people to say no to work, even if they work for us.
Hmm.
I mean, you don't have to probably have to pay them, but I won't get into that anyway. Um, you know, Christians with their Sabbath should be experts on this idea.
Yeah.
But I would hazard a guess that most Christians know less about Sabbath theology than they do about Waitangi Day and Labor Day. Now, speaking personally,
Yeah.
post burnout, I am passionate about handling stress.
Hmm.
In my 20s, I had other passions, some I won't talk about on radio, but I was passionate about work.
Mm.
I was working a day job, but as well, I was out 6 or 7 nights a week
Mm.
doing church stuff and YFC stuff and weekends as well, doing crazy hours and loving it because I was in my 20s and I was bulletproof and invulnerable.
Yeah.
And I was powered by the buzz from achieving stuff and working alongside other people that were enthusiastic and powered by causes that I believed in and
Hmm.
powered by coffee. Thank goodness no one gave me crystal meth or I'd never have slept. But, you know, my body tried to warn me. Occasionally it would do things like tie my guts up in knots, but I just told my guts to shut up because what I'm doing is valuable and I'm loving it.
Yeah.
And then something horrible and valuable happened. I burnt out.
Hmm.
And I'd like to share some of the things I learned about burnout, which is why I'm also passionate about Labor Day. And the first is burnout is horrible.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
And as much as I've been able to, I've tried to stop people from burning out. The second thing I learned is that you can recover, but it is slow and hard. And sometimes the sun still goes behind the clouds for me. But whereas recovery is hard, preventing burnout is rather easy and actually quite pleasant.
Hmm.
Another thing I learned is that graveyards are full of indispensable people,
Yeah.
meaning you might think what you're doing is so, so valuable and no one else can do it. And if I don't do it, no one else will do it and everything like this. And therefore I've got to work myself into the ground. No, graveyards are full of indispensable people.
Yep.
There's that old saying, you put your hand in the sea, you pull your hand out, the sea knows you know more. That's going to be our story,
Yeah.
okay? We're
Yeah.
not indispensable. If you have to pull out of something to give yourself a break, chances are the world won't stop.
Hmm.
Uh, One of the things I learned is that you can handle huge amounts of stress and hard work if you can see an end in sight.
Hmm.
When you might have to work really hard to get a new system up and running at work, you might have sick parents, you might have a project that you're engaged in. But if you can see that, hey, yes, but I've got that day off coming up at
Yeah.
the end of the week, I can see that week's holiday looming up on my calendar. You can actually handle it if you've got that hope of a rest.
Just not wanting to pop your balloon in any way, but I think we're very good at telling ourselves lies in that area, giving ourselves false hope of saying, oh, yes, it will get better I'll be able to cope after this thing happens, or once the kids are at school, or once the kids
Yes.
are out of school, or once we can solve this problem that we're dealing with at the moment. When that happens, life is going to be so easy. But the problem is,
Yeah.
once that ends, there's another thing that's sucking up
Sure,
all your spare
sure.
time, right?
I should have said if there is a real end in
Okay.
sight. I can remember a very, very good book written years ago called The 60-Minute Father, and it had a chapter in it where it said, an easier day is coming is a myth.
Yeah.
They think that, that an easier day is coming. You've got to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just think, oh, if I can just get over this hump, things will be easier. No, you've actually got to use your diary in self-defense and say, no, I'm not actually available that day.
Yeah.
You don't have to tell them you're going to be sitting up, catching up on your backlog of Netflix things or whatever. It's in your diary. It's your self-defense thing. Biologically, we need small regular breaks and occasional long ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I remember reading about hunter-gatherer societies where if they have to work 2 days in a row, they consider that bad. I mean,
Look at the
these-
progress
these-
we've made.
That's right. Other people have said we've become slaves to our, to work and this idea of it being a virtue. But I'm a fan of hard work, but I think that there's this desperate need that we need to occasionally rest.
Yeah.
And resting isn't just ceasing from activity. It's actually something you do in your head.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible to stop working and be so anxious about the work you're not doing, you're not resting at all.
On the flip
And-
side, I suppose it's also possible to have a rest by cycling around Whakarewa because you're doing something different. You're in a different space.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It puts your head in a different place. In fact, you can even rest in the midst of your labor. I can remember a guy saying you can have little rests between every breath.
Wow.
I mean, I think he was the boss telling me that I can't have a break, but it was just that sense of resting is something you can cultivate in your head, and you can actually do it. The big thing I think I learned from my burnout, though, was you can work harder and achieve more.
Mm-hmm.
But if you work harder than that, you achieve less.
Yeah.
And if you work harder than that, you might not achieve anything for years because you're burnt out. So you can increase your effectiveness by doing less. And the workaholics out there need to know this, that you can actually achieve more by doing less. And the priorities that we have, the things that we're working hardest at, may not be providing the most valuable things in our life anyway. We possibly need to be shifting that priority on working to be a great parent, a good friend, a great spouse, a better human being. So that's just some thoughts that have sort of sprouted out of Labor Day. My apologies to whatever the real meaning of Labor Day is, but I think it just means, hey, you can take a break and you don't need to feel guilty about it because you're actually doing the best thing.
That is some very good advice indeed. And I think with Labor Day as well, I mean, we've got Matariki now, but it used to be, okay, we've had Easter, the next break is the other side of winter when it's finally Labor Day and everybody can go, okay, that's the thing that we're holding on to hope for. We can see that day where we get to finally have a rest, but hey, that's what annual leave is for, or perhaps even using some mental health days to get us through what we need to get through, right?
Leave without pay. It's if you can do it, if you need to. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, John, always good to chat with you. Thanks for sharing such valuable wisdom and insight as always. Thanks for being on the program today.
Cheers.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.